Hi, Jody. Hi, Fran. I'm compressed, aren't I? It must be the cold temperatures. Hi, Kelly. Hi, Miss Mary. I know, Jody. I know. It's the black. It slims me. It slims me. It does. I have on my sweater lounge set, so it is chilly here. It's 10 degrees. Hi, Tina. Thanks for coming in. So nice to see you. I just thought we'd get together. I kind of sent out the bat signal for everybody so we could get together and commiserate in the cold together, right? It's 10 degrees here right now, so we're quite warm, quite warm. So I hope everybody's doing well. I hope you are warm and cozy, right? And we are prepared and not scared here at Lilleybugglane, right? Right, because we've had plenty of time to get ready for all that is happening and all that will happen. Nothing is happening here right now at Lilleybugglane. We are expected to, the snow is expected to start around 1 a.m. here, and we are slated to have about between anywhere from 8 to 14 inches, depending, throughout the next couple of days. So we will see what happens, right? We'll see. No ice is expected up here. We're a little bit too far north, I think, for any kind of ice situation, which is fine with us. Those of us that know what ice is like, yes, Fran. Those of us that know what ice is like don't care for the ice. Those of us that know what snow is like would prefer snow over ice. So, hi, Margaret. So glad you're here. Thank you for being here. Yes, Fran. Shall we take a good look at them? I don't think they're all the way open. Not as much as at Chewy's work, but they have opened up more. Look how beautiful that is, friends. Look how vibrant. Oh, well, I'm compressed. So, you know what I found out too? Sometimes after a while on YouTube, the video will uncompress. So sometimes that happens, but I think it's the cold and I'm wearing black, so I look thinner, right? I look thinner. But look at that, friends. Isn't that amazing? And you see there are 3 blooms in each one. Isn't that crazy? I know. Now, these are nowhere near as tall as the ones we've had in the past years, right? Nowhere near. And a couple of our circle friends have let me know through direct messaging that theirs are looking very, very good too. And that this is typically the phases that it goes through. So, but remember, this is our first time having the wax dip. And one of our circle friends told me that this came up and had another bloom on it also. They are, aren't they, Kelly? They're almost like hibiscus, aren't they? I know. And like I've told you all before, if you ever want something to do on YouTube, go into the amaryllis community. You will be amazed at what these people do with amaryllis and the commitment that they give to improving their, upping their amaryllis game, right? And as you can see, we've got these 2 here that are slowly opening up also. And can I tell you something? These have a fragrance to them. Well, I don't know if I would call it a fragrance, but there is definitely a scent to them because, you know, I keep them on the dining room table. And when you walk into the dining room, you can smell these. They have a scent. I don't know if I would necessarily call it a fragrance because to me, a fragrance would be something that I would enjoy wearing, like, you know, wearing as like a perfume or something. But you can definitely tell that these have a scent or a fragrance to them. So very, very nice, right? Love them, love them. Not so sure I'm keen on the wax ball idea though, although it is neater and it's very low maintenance, very low maintenance. So we'll see. but they're doing quite well. So, and they're very vibrant, which is nice. And loving how they're looking. They take a really long time to open, but again, it is colder here in Lilleybugglane, you know, because we keep the thermostat pretty low. So we're quite happy with these. You know what I didn't see this year out in the stores were paper whites. I didn't see any paper whites this year because, you know, we like the paper whites too. And can I tell you, the cats will not bother these, the boys. They will not bother them. They'll jump up on the table, the dining room table, to like lay on the table. The cats will. But they will not even go near these. They won't. And amaryllis are toxic to cats. So it's interesting that they stay away from them naturally. I don't know if it would be naturally or not, but the boys aren't bothering them at all. And I was a little bit, they were, Kelly. Did you find any, Kelly? Because I've seen a couple of people in their videos have them. They're growing them. But I didn't see them out in the stores like I have in years past. So I don't know what that's about. And Max has been live like all day. You didn't even see one. Neither did we. And I checked at Walmart. I checked at Giant Eagle. I checked at Lowe's, and they weren't there. And those are like the three main Walmart. Did I say Walmart? You know, just my regular haunts, right? Listen, I'm going to do our traditional secondhand living haul. I'm going to record it tomorrow and then release it on Monday. You are not going to believe what I found at the Goodwill in Butler. I was so excited. And yeah, Amazon has everything, right? Amazon has everything. Who was it that got, Renee, her channel is Welcome to My Curls. She got last year, was it last year? She got faux tulips. They were the most realistic looking tulips that I have ever seen. And she got them on Amazon. She did. And she had them in her house pretty much throughout the summer too, because she just moved them around, you know. But they were so pretty, but they were faux. But that would be nice to have faux paper whites, because then you wouldn't have to worry about them, right? But they have a very nice fragrance. I would say paper whites have a very nice fragrance. So, but anyway, friends, so a couple of words in the chat as to what your weather is in your area, so we all know what is going on with each other, right? Like I said, 10 degrees here, very, very cold. Nothing is coming down from the sky. And I know that I've been keeping 14, Fran. 14. Yucky. I know, Kelly. You'll be fine, Kelly. I promise you'll be fine. I've been keeping up with it. Like I said, 5, Tina. You're 5. So you're colder than us, Tina. You're colder than us. 1. Jody's 1. I think Jody's going to win. Our country mouse is going to win the prize. Jody, you need to spread some extra hay down for some insulation. I just watched a guy on YouTube, and he got, what did he get? He got a truckload. I don't know how many bales it was, because they were in bales, but he gave all his animals extra bales of hay in their enclosures, right? So that they could keep warm. And he called it God's insulation. That's what he called it as he was spreading it out for his goats and his bunnies. And so I know how disappointed you are, Margaret. I know. I know. I know. I came up with this new term. Okay. I came up with a new term as I was watching, because you know what was funny to me is a few days ago, right, when the information about this coming storm started to hit the mainstream media, right? Because like the mainstream media, so your government funded media, right, wasn't really giving a whole lot of information out about this storm. Most of the information was coming from your independent weather people online, maybe your local weather people on radio were just kind of touching on it just a little bit, right? And if you were a Simpsons fan, you knew this was coming. You knew it was coming because the Simpsons predicted it last year that it was coming, or the year before, interestingly enough. But anyway, so you know when catastrophic things happen, right? Like the fires out in LA, or the eruption of Mount St. Helen, or the fires in Hawaii, or, you know, the fires in the North Carolina and stuff like that. And you get these people that come in, right? And they're called disaster tourists, right? And like even after Katrina, right? Now, I'm not talking about the people that come in, right? I'm not talking about the people that come in that offer aid, right? Or offer relief. I'm not talking about those people, although that could be a guise as to get them in there to actually see how bad things are, right? I'm talking about the people that will go to see with their own eyes how bad things are, right? Right. And they're called disaster tourists. And that phrase was coined, I believe, by Bethany Frankel when the LA fires happened and Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, right? Yeah, the looky-loos. The looky-loos. You're right. You're right. I like that. Looky-loo. But Bethany Frankel, I believe, was one. No, it was Justine Bateman. It was Justine Bateman who coined the term disaster tourist after the LA fires, because Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, right, inserted themselves in to the LA fires and took a tour of the area, right? And it really pissed off the residents that were not allowed back into their areas. But Prince Harry and Meghan Markle were allowed to go and walk around, and they were photographed and everything. And Justine Bateman got really, really, really mad, and she coined the term disaster tourist. Okay, so now that's kind of like a thing. And like Kelly said, a looky-loo, right? A looky-loo. And so as these winter storms, right? This winter storm was ramping up, right? And people were like, oh, you know, it's not going to be anything. The weathermen are always wrong. You know, we always get forecasted for this and we don't ever get anything, you know, kind of a thing. And they weren't doing anything about it, right? Well, now a bunch of shorts and a bunch of videos, because everybody has to jump on the trendy train to get their views up, right? To get their views up. They jump on the storm preparedness train and start posting videos. And they post videos of the empty shelves in the stores, right? And they post videos of the fact that they can't find water anywhere. They post the fact, you know, and here's the dealio, okay? Here's the dealio. and then you've got people that are just going out into the stores. Yes. Is it, Tina? Is it? Right. So here's the question. Are you going out there because you need the stuff, because you weren't a good enough prepper, that you didn't listen when you were told over a week ago that this was coming, right? So you knew, okay, something's coming. I need to start getting ready. Let's take some inventory. Let's gather things together. Let's get at our manual for, winter preparedness or whatever, right? Or, right, are you, yeah, Fran. Or are you doing this just to feel like you're part of the chaos, right? Like a chaos tourist, right? Like you want to be out in the thick of it, right? You want to be in the thick of it. I believe that, Fran. I believe that. If you live at the very tippity tip of Florida, right, you should have a snow shovel. I believe that. I certainly believe that. If you live in the deepest heart of Texas, down at the very, very tippity tip of Texas, where you can throw a stone into Mexico, you should have a snow shovel. If you live in the middle of the United States, not around any kind of body of water or anything, you should have life jackets. You should have maybe even a Johnny boat or whatever, an inflatable raft or something in case there's flooding. Do you know what I mean? Anything can happen anywhere, and we're finding that out. And not so long ago in Texas, right, they had a major ice storm in Texas that basically crippled the state. And I'm not picking on Texas. I'm not picking specifically on Texas. Do you know what I mean? But they had a major weather event in Texas, right, that involved ice and involved below freezing temperatures, which most of Texas isn't really used to. Do you know what I mean? And that was a lesson, right, that everyone should have learned from, right? And I don't care if I've got life jackets hanging out in the garage for 5 years and we never put them on, right? I don't care. But the one time that we may need the life jackets and they're not hanging out in the garage, or I haven't brought them into Lilleybugglane and put them down into the basement, I'm going to be mad at myself, right? I'm going to be mad at myself. And if there are certain things, as homeowners or apartment dwellers or townhouse dwellers, right, that we should be aware of, right, and things that we should have, always keeping in mind that, we get what we can afford to get when we can afford to get it, right? But the time to get these things is before you need them and before you get into a panic because you don't have them, right? And like, if you have a sump pump in your house, right, 12 hours before a major storm hits, 12 hours before a major storm hits is not the time to worry about your sump pump overworking itself, right? If you live on the shore, right, when the wind reaches 60 miles per hour, that is not the time to think to yourself, I should close all the windows and, put down the hurricane shutters. That's not the time. The time would have been in the days that you knew that this was coming, right? You knew that it was coming. And just because it's been forecasted before and nothing's ever happened, right? That doesn't mean that there won't be, because you only got to be right once. You only got to be right once, right? So anyway, I just, that's one of the things that is our motto here at Lilleybugglane is be prepared, not scared, right? Plan for the worst, hope for the best, right? And there has to come a point. Yes, Kelly. Yes. I was going to bring that up, Kelly. I was going to bring that up. So once this is over, right? Once this is over, you need to be paying very close attention because there's another storm right behind it. Right behind it. So the time between this storm ending and the next storm that is scheduled to come up, which is a very short window, right, is going to be your time to replenish and reinforce, right? Do a very quick after action report after this storm, right? And use that to prepare for the next one, right? And, people think that this is ridiculous stuff. People think that this is rigid, that it is inflexible, that it is boot camp, military, control freak stuff. You can think whatever you want to about it, okay? You can think whatever you want to about it. But I'm not sweating. I'm not sweating. I'm not nervous because we're as prepared as we can be at this time for the weather that is predicted for our area. And we have been keeping a very close eye on what is predicted for this area, knowing full well, right, that we've got kind of two different weather areas that we are watching for, right? Were there really, Fran? Let me give you all a little tip. Okay? Make sure that you shop at your neighborhood small grocery stores if you are having trouble finding things that you need. Okay? Your little TikTok shop at the corner, your little 7-Eleven at the corner, your little mom and pop bodega on the corner, right? Don't be afraid to shop at those places. Dollar General, they carry food, they carry refrigeration, gas stations carry milk, things like that, right? Don't be afraid to go to those places too. And especially like your little convenience stores and your little bodegas and gas stations, because their turnover of stuff is very quick because they don't keep it in the stores for very long. Do you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people buy things as they're going in and out of there. So you can get milk, you could get eggs, things like that. So just keep that in mind if you're having trouble finding things, right? That you can go into these little tiny places and possibly find what you need. Good, Fran. Good. And we have two that we can go. We can go this way to one and we can go this way to one, and they're both within walking distance. And they're just little corner stores that we can go to, and they have milk and bread and eggs. Happy Saturday, Seth. How are you? How are things over there? Nothing's happening here yet, Seth. Nice of you to come in, Seth. Thank you. I hope you and Mrs. Ball are doing well tonight. But it's very, very important, right, that we are prepared. And there comes a point, right, in your preparedness right? Or there comes a point in your anxiety level where you just have to say, I'm as ready as I'm going to be. I can't be any more ready. Just like, when we were in school, right? Yeah, Seth. Seth, it's supposed to start snowing here around 1 a.m. Supposed to start snowing here around 1 a.m. So, yeah, Fran. Yeah. But I mean, you're real close, right? And you have, access to something, right? You have access to something. And you just have to be ready, friends. Like what I was going to say, finish your thought, Lala. What I was going to say was, remember when we used to be in school and we would know that a big test was coming up? Hi, Linda. Oh, good, 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 good. In Louisiana? Good. I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad. No snow, no ice, no nothing. Yeah, yeah, Kelly, yeah. Yes, Kelly. Good, good, good. Glad to hear it, Linda. Glad to hear it. When we were in school and we would have a big test coming up, like exams, right? Like end of marking period exams. Do you remember those? Because we had those back in the day, right? And we weren't exempt from them like the kids are now, right? Which I don't know how that happens if you can't read and write. How are you exempt from an exam other than the fact that you can't read or write? You can't read the exam and you can't write to answer the questions, but that's beside the point. And remember, we would study, 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 or we wouldn't study, right? We wouldn't study, and then we'd study like the night before. Do you remember? And then you would just get so worked up about it, right? Because you're like, why didn't I do this earlier? Why didn't I learn this stuff before? And then you just had to say to yourself, right? What I know is what I know. And hopefully it's enough to pass the test, right? So you get to a point where you just have to tell yourself, stop, enough. You're as prepared as you're going to be. If you're not, write down the things that you wish you had so you have them for the next time. Now I'm going to give you a little example of something, okay? So earlier in the week, I went downstairs into our stock area, and we have a food stock area, and then we have like just a shelving unit that has emergency things on it, right? Yeah, whoa, right? Whoa, that's enough, right? That's enough. I went downstairs and we have a food area, right? Yeah, time to say, whoa. We have a food area, and then we have a shelving unit that has like just emergency things, right? So we have like lamp oil, and we have kerosene, and we have batteries, and we have the Duraflame logs. So if we run out of wood, which would be a miracle if that happened, if we ran out of wood and we ran out of our kerosene heater, then we have a box of Duraflame logs that we could burn, right? So, I mean, you got to continuously think, yes, you've got this, but what happens when this is no longer? You move to the next thing. What happens when this is no longer? You move to the next thing. You have to figure out how long will your things last. Well, I went downstairs, right? Because I have quite a few cans of Crisco. We all know what Crisco is, right? The solid Crisco in the tubs. And I had some Crisco. And I had been watching videos, quite a few videos I had been watching, just to see what people were suggesting. And these would be intermediate to high level preppers on YouTube. And I was watching a couple of videos where they were talking about like people that live in their cars were giving tips on how to maintain heat when you lose your heat. Well, it doesn't just necessarily have to be you have no heat in your car, right? Yes, Fran. Very, very good. Very good. Very good. So, you don't just necessarily have to think about that when it's you're stranded in your car, although there were some very good ideas, friends, and we're going to talk about them at some point because I picked up on a couple of things and I immediately thought to myself, I got to pass that on to our circle friends because we are not going to be those people, are we? We are not. So while I was down there, I was looking around and I happened to watch a video about the Crisco candles, right? And we all know about the Crisco candles. Well, I was watching it and I went downstairs and I looked, and lo and behold, I was missing something that had to do with my Crisco candles, right? I was missing taper candles, which is part of the Crisco candle recipe, right? Because you have the tub of Crisco, right? You have your tub of Crisco, right? And then you have to cut the candle to the height of the Crisco can and stick it down the middle, and then you light this, right? So this has to be cut. So I was missing the taper candles that go into the tub of Crisco, right? And so I had to pick them up. I had to pick them up last night when we were at Friday Fun Night. I had to pick them up, a box of taper candles. So just in case we had to use our Crisco candles, I have these. So these are going to go downstairs on the shelf next to the Crisco candles. But, there's a lot of really, really good ideas how to cook without electricity using tea lights and a muffin tin and a cooling rack, right? Yes, Fran. Yes. Yes. And I watched a lady today. What is her name? Fran, what is the rice light that I sent you earlier? What you do is you take rice, white rice, you put it in a container, then you cover the rice with water, then you pour in vegetable oil over that, then you stick in a Q-tip with the cardboard stick, not the one with the plastic stick, with the cardboard stick. You stick that in so the one end goes into the rice and it stays upright, and you light it and it's a candle. So who doesn't have rice? Who doesn't have water? Who doesn't have vegetable oil? And who doesn't have Q-tips, that have the cardboard stick in the middle, right? Cardboard stick in the middle. Pam's POV. Fran just put it in there. Look her up, and she has a fabulous emergency light situation. Now, a lot of people don't like to burn flame, right? Either because of animals or littles, or they're just afraid of an open flame or whatever. But let me tell you something, friends. It gets down to it. It gets down to it, right? You need light. You need light. And batteries only last for so long. Rechargeable things only last for so long. So you, again, you just keep thinking farther and farther out. Good, Kelly. Good. And you put them in the muffin tin, right? And then you put the cooling rack over top of it. And then you put the pot on top of that. You can do up a ramen. You can do up ramen. Real easy with that, right? And who doesn't love a good ramen? I mean, come on, friends. Come on. Right? But anyway, so I just find it hilarious. Well, I shouldn't say that because it's not a very nice. Well, Fran, during a blizzard, there is no sunshine, so you can't charge up a solar powered something. But yes, you're right, Fran. You're right. Solar power to me is very finicky because there's one thing that you have to have for solar power, and that is sunlight, right? And there's not always sunlight. Now, if you can charge it and it stays charged, right, for a certain amount of time, then that would be a good thing to have. Or like after a blizzard or after a storm, if the light, if the sky was to clear, right, then you would be able to use your solar. And I do know that there are some solar generators now that are out that a couple of the preppers are pushing pretty hard, that it banks the solar in the generator, right? It banks the solar in the generator. But can I tell you something? My feeling about the solar generators, I don't know. To me, that's like a bagless vacuum cleaner, right? You know what I'm talking about, don't you? You know, Miss Mary knows and my mother knows exactly what I'm talking about. You compare a bagless vacuum to a bag vacuum, there is no comparison. The vacuum cleaner that has the bag in it is going to outperform the bagless vacuum 10 out of 10 times, friends. I'm guaranteeing you it is. And I was so disappointed when we started to see these bagless vacuums come in, right? So disappointed. And they sold it to us under the fact that that the vacuum was spitting the dust out, and that it was messy to do. They are the best, Kelly. They are the best. They certainly are. My mom and dad had a vacuum cleaner. I believe it was from Sears. I believe. And they had that thing forever. And my dad duct taped the hose, to seal the hose up. Oh my gosh. And it had this little metal pedal that you just tapped, and it screwed, the top screwed. Oh my God, it was the best thing ever. It was the best, and it was metal, Kelly. It was metal. It wasn't plastic. And can I tell you, the vacuum cleaners now, why are they so heavy? They are so heavy. Now, I'm a shorty. You all know it, right? I don't let you forget it. I'm a shorty, okay? And with my, sciatica issues, I'm very, very careful. So Chewy is the vacuumer, if that's even a word, in our house. He does a fabulous job. He does the lines. You've seen how he mows outside, friends. How he mows outside is how he vacuums inside. He loves to vacuum. Loves it. And but I've noticed, because I have vacuumed a couple of times, right? Is it wonderful? Eureka Mighty Might. Okay. Is it rechargeable, Kelly? Because we won't do rechargeable here. We won't do rechargeable. But the vacuums are so heavy. They are so heavy now. And I don't understand. Well, you know what it is, don't you? You know what it is. It's those damn rechargeable batteries. That's why. That's why they're so heavy. Because those batteries weigh a ton. All that. You have a Dyson, Fran? Can I tell you something? I tried a Dyson when they first came out. They were heavy when they first came out. They certainly were. I've seen, are they called rainbow vacuums? I've seen those at Goodwill. Old, like rainbow, and I've seen Electrolux vacuums at Goodwill. I have. See, tinkerers would pick those up. And redo them and make them work again. They certainly would. They would, friends. I see a lot of Sunbeam stand mixers too, like the KitchenAid ones, but these are by Sunbeam. I see a lot of those too. The old retro ones. I see a lot of those, friends. Can I tell you something? At the Walmart, very heavy. They still are. Yep. Why are they so heavy? I don't understand it. Let me tell you something. I want the bag back and give up the weight. Give up the weight, right? But give me back the bag. Give me back the bag. KitchenAid has a ceramic bowl. Has anybody seen it? It is on clearance at the Walmart. I've seen 2 of them in the clearance section at the Sharon Walmart. They are on clearance, friends, for $58. Yeah, that's not going to happen here at Lilleybugglane. We keep our KitchenAid put away. We don't have it out on the counter. I'd rather have pretty things. Well, my KitchenAid's pretty. It's red. But I mean, I'd rather have like pretty tchotchke things, right? To look at. But it's like a white ceramic bowl, and it has embossed. It's embossed on the outside. And it weighs a ton. It weighs a ton. It's unbelievable. But anyway, I was getting a kick, I should say it that way, right? Getting a kick out of seeing these people, right, that are jumping on this doom storm. Yeah, ours is heavy too, Fran. We don't keep ours out on the counter. We don't keep ours. I guess I could put it in the butler's hall if I wanted to, because that's where like I cool cookies and everything is in the butler's hall there on the counter. But I don't know, maybe if we had an island in the kitchen instead of the kitchen table, I might put my KitchenAid out. Do you know what I mean? But I like my appliances put away. I'd rather have, yeah, right, Tina? I'd rather have my pretty stuff out on the counters. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's up on the wall. Yeah. But I just love these people, right? That have jumped on the apocalypse snowstorm trendy train, or they have a, $100 plus winter storm stock up Dollar Tree haul, or emergency storm Amazon haul, or what, our grocery shelves are empty, where am I going to get this haul? Do you know what I mean? You have 3 hand mixers, Kelly. That's funny. Yeah, they do, Fran. Yeah, they do. They do. They do. But I like to see, right? I like to see those. And then I go look at their channels, and they're like, they have videos that are talking about, oh, Easter egg colors, Kelly. Easter egg colors. And it's funny because their videos, they're talking about being prepared and prepping and, keeping up on your household needs and the needs that, the people in your family have and things like that. For instance, like being prepared for a sick person in your home, right? Ever since my children have been little, and I learned this from someone that I knew way back in the day when Bunny was little, right? I have we call it a sick kit, right? And what it is it's one of those small plastic trash cans, right? And then inside that, there's a roll of paper towels. There is some Lysol. There is wet wipes, like to wipe your face or whatever. And there's a bottle of water. and there's a rolled up towel and it sits in the bottom of the linen closet. Well, the purpose of that is that if you have a little that is sick in the night, right, and starts to vomit, right, all you got to do is go into the linen closet and grab that little wastebasket, and everything is right there to take care of what has happened right then and there, right? To take care of it and settle things down very, very quickly, right? So I have that, like these little kits that are made up that all we have to do is grab and go. Oh, that sounds neat. Yes, it is, Tina. Linda, that sounds neat. Gumbo, crawfish gumbo. Can I tell you something, Linda? Chewy watched Waterboy last night. That's one of our favorite movies. I think, was he in Louisiana? The Waterboy with Adam Chandler, is that his name? That sounds nice. So I'm assuming Louisiana was below the storm. Was it below the storm, or was it too far west for the storm? Below the storm? Because there was a definite line. And see, that's what our thing is. That's what our thing is here. We've got the Ohio Valley. You're below the storm line. Good, good. And see, that's what ours is. We've got the Ohio Valley. And whenever something comes up the Ohio Valley, it gets to a certain point, right, in Ohio, and then as it's coming up the valley, it either goes north, right, which is above us, or it goes south, which is below us, and we may get none of it. But 10 miles up the road, right, they're getting blasted, or 10 miles down that way, they're getting blasted, right? And a couple weeks ago when we were in Butler, we got caught in a complete whiteout coming out of Sam's. And when we went over there, it was absolutely fine. Nothing was happening. Everything was calm. Went to Goodwill. Noticed that the temperature was dropping. The wind was picking up a little bit. We went into Sam's. By the time we came out of Sam's, there had been squalls come through. It was a complete whiteout. It was just horrendous, you know. But by the time we got back here to Lilleybugglane, you could see as we were coming home on the interstate, you could see where the line was, where the weather was bad and where it wasn't, right? You just have a little rain there. A little bit of rain. Crawfish. Are they like shrimp? Are they like shrimp? A little bit like shrimp, right? They kind of look a little bit like shrimp. I think they do. I don't think I've ever had. Crawfish. So, yes, like shrimp. Okay. Does it taste like shrimp, Linda? I don't know if it tastes like shrimp, though, does it? Do they consider, let's think about it like this. So, you know how catfish are considered to be the bottom feeders, right? Catfish are the bottom feeders. Not just being honest, friends, that's what people say, okay? It's a fishy taste, okay? Totally different taste than shrimp, okay? So it wouldn't be, you wouldn't be like relating it to shrimp at all, other than maybe the shape of it, maybe? It's a crustacean, right? I'm gonna have to look that up. Oh, friends, you have to keep up with the porcupine lady. Oh my gosh! They are so cute. They are so cute. And more are coming. I think that they know that there is a storm a brewing, right? Up there in Canada, right? Because we've got things, it's going in like a swirl now, friends. It's going in like a swirl. And they're supposed to have like 2 feet of snow up there in Canada where these porcupines are. And they're like all coming to the deck now, underneath the deck. And she has put a very nice layer of hay under the deck for the porcupines. And she's going out there and giving them apples. And they are so cute. I love to hear their little squeaky sounds. And they love her. I think they're food motivated animals, to be quite honest with you. I really do. So, but it's just interesting to see, right? It's interesting to see the people that were like, nothing's going to happen here. I'm not worried. I've got everything I need. And then within the last 24 hours, right, it's like full court panic. Flavorings, Kelly. Old Bay, Kelly. Old Bay. Who remembers back in the day? You got to think way back, friends. Think way back. Who was that Cajun cook who would be like on cable late at night? Do you remember him? What was his name? You know who I'm talking about. He was like from Louisiana, and he'd go, Louisiana, something like that. Do you remember him? But he was on like the UHF channel, right? He was on that, and he would be on but he would do a cooking show. No, not Emerald. Emerald's the bang guy, right? He's the bang guy. No, I think this guy was French. I think he was French Cajun. Papel? No. What was his name? What was his name? Come on, Linda. Come on, Kelly. You know who I'm talking about. And he had on a blue shirt. Maybe sometimes, Kelly, he had on a blue shirt. And it was short sleeve. Yes. PBS or VHS, which I guess might have been PBS back in the day, Kelly. What was his name? And he would go, ooh-wee, like that. Louisiana, something like that. What was his name? Papel? Pompeii? No, not Pompeii. Pompeii, not Pompeii. It was an unusual French Cajun name. Maybe Tina, maybe. I don't think it was wine. I actually think it was like scotch or bourbon. He might have had a little bit of bourbon, like 2 fingers of bourbon. No. He had a French Cajun name, like Rousseau or something like that, Kelly. I'll have to look him up. I'm quite sure he's on YouTube. His old shows are on YouTube. Tina, I think it was, no, Emerald. You mean Emerald? No. Emerald Lagasse? No. I think he's Papal. Papal? That might have been him. So what's his first name, Kelly? Remember, he was an older gentleman. He had like slicked back gray hair, so it would have been burl creamed. He had on a blue shirt, like all the older gentlemen wore back in the day, with the short sleeves with the pocket right here. And he would always, Prudhomme. There you go. Thank you, Linda. Thank you. Paul Prudhomme. That's it. That's it. Paul Prudhomme. Look him up. Look him up. Tina. That, I think that was Julia Childs, that she would drink wine while she was cooking, right? And I think there's a couple of videos on YouTube where she's sloshed and she's trying to cook when she's sloshed. Let me tell you something. There's also real good documentaries about her. They think she was a spy. They do. They think Julia Childs was a spy. I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah, Paul Prudhomme. That's it. That's it. That's it, Linda. I knew that it was something like that. That's French Cajun. So you got to look him up on YouTube from back in the day, because he was like fabulous back in the day. Well, yeah, Mom. Yeah. It may have been her more than him, though. It may have been her more than him. But there's a couple of good, interesting conspiracy theories on her and, you know, what she was doing. Paul Prudhomme. Oh my gosh, do you remember him? And didn't he have a seasoning? I think he did. Oh, Poet's Bow. No, I don't even know who Justin Wilson is. When I first saw Justin Wilson, somebody typed that in, I was going to say, no, that's a Beach Boy, but that's Brian Wilson. He has a seasoning, Linda. Does he still? A Poet's Bow. Can I tell you something? It's hilarious now to see these fashion, the fashion influencers. Hilarious. Magic seasoning. Okay. He wore a blue shirt always. Kelly, I know what I'm talking about. I have very good, vivid memories of certain things, and he was one of them. No, I don't think. I'll have to look. I don't think he did. Paul Prudhomme wore a chef's outfit. Wait a minute. Maybe Paul Prudhomme, was he the big fatty? Because if that, then it must have been Justin Wilson. I'll look it up on YouTube. I'll look it up on YouTube to see. But there was one. Fran, he was the big fat boy. Did he have a beard? Paul Prudhomme? Because then it wasn't him. Okay, I might have been talking about Justin. Okay, sorry. But there's the one that says, ooh-wee, he's an old, like bayou man, like an old bayou man, right? Paul Prudhomme, I mean, seriously, he wasn't. Let me tell you something. That was a character. That was a character, right? That was a character. Okay. I'll look it up. I'm going to look it up. Elmer. Now that's a bayou name, isn't it? That is a bayou name. Died in 2001. Oh, yes. I'll look it up and see. I certainly will. I'll look it up and see. Okay, before we leave, I have to tell you, because you know how I love to hear people, right? I love to hear people mispronounce words. I just think it's hilarious. Right? And typically I'll make note of it, right? Either in my mind or I will write it down so I can share it with all of you. But I heard it today or yesterday, and I have to share it with you. Okay? I have to share it with you. Okay. I'm going to spell it real quick, and then we're going to say it. And then I'm going to say it the way I heard somebody say it. Okay? Let me see if I can spell it, right? OREGANO. We all know what that is, right? We all know what that is. That's what I kept getting mixed up with the basil out back on the patio. Do you remember that? Okay, so it's oregano, right? Oregano. I heard somebody say oregano. Oregano, right? I heard somebody say, pronounce it oregano. Okay? Oregano. And this wasn't someone that is, not American. Now, they put on an Irish accent for their videos, but they are American, right? Mother! Oregano? Listen, everybody sees that, right? Everybody sees that. No, Fran, I don't think he doesn't look Spanish one single bit. Not one single bit. Kelly, right? Don't be creepy, Mrs. Smith. She's getting all antsy, Kelly, because nothing's happening there yet. Nothing's happening there yet. So she's getting all worked up about it, right? She is. But anyway, friends. So there we go. I just wanted to touch base with everybody on a Saturday night. I wanted to see how you all were doing and get right, Mom? I wanted to see how you all were doing, and I wanted to get us together so that we could check on each other. And I just wanted to, make sure to remind you all, right, that we are prepared and we are not scared, right? Right. And there comes a point when even the most prepared, right, just have to say, enough's enough, and what is going to happen is going to happen, right? But everything will be fine, I promise. And just remember, friends, just remember, a lot of people before us have gone through a lot more shit than just an ice storm or a snowstorm, and had a lot less comfort than we have, right? So we'll get through it. We certainly will. And we are a stout group here. We are a stout group here at Lilleybugglane. We are sturdy hens here at Lilleybugglane. I have decided that. I have decided it, right? So without weathermen, you're absolutely right, Mom. They looked at the leaves, they watched the animals, they watched the clouds, right? They knew, and they were always prepared. So anyway, friends, if you're watching this on the replay, please feel free to leave a comment down below. We love to hear from you. We certainly do. If you've enjoyed this video and your time here at Lilleybugglane, I would appreciate some thumbs up. I would love for this video to have 10 thumbs up. I certainly would. Wherever you are, I hope that you are safe and warm, right? I hope that you are safe and warm. And just be aware of the weather, right? So that you know what's coming. And there is another one coming right after this one. So keep that in mind, friends. Keep that in mind. After action reports are very, very important, and they can teach us things. They certainly can. Thank you all for spending this time with me this evening. I hope that you have enjoyed our time together as much as I have, and I certainly have. Make sure your notification bell is on for the channel so you know when I upload a video, we go live, or I post something on the community post page. Are we ready, friends? You're not going to bed until you see the first flake. Okay, Mom. Okay. I hear you. Are we ready, friends? I think we're ready. I hope you are happy. More than anything, I hope you're happy and finding lots of glimmers in your days. I hope you're healthy. Take your zinc every day, friends. It is up to us. Let's all say it together. Healthy people are not profitable. And I hope you are safe. I certainly do. Know the weather in your area so you can be prepared and not scared. Check out Max Velocity on YouTube to know the weather that is expected in your area. I think of you all often. You are never far in my thoughts, friends. And we will be together again soon. Have a great rest of the night, a great weekend, and stay safe and warm. Good night.